Welcome to the Nonprofits and Media Podcast, where we talk to leaders involved with media inside a variety of nonprofit organizations about the different ways they approach marketing and communications. I'm Nathan Pfaff, and my job is to tease out what benefits or results they've seen in their content strategy so that you can apply those to your own life or organization. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Nonprofits and Media. Today we're going to be talking with Ryan Farran. Ryan is a missionary pilot in Papua New Guinea with Ethnos 360, servicing very remote jungle airstrips with a small single-engine plane. Ryan started documenting his flights with GoPro action cameras and intentionally set out to start a YouTube channel that could hopefully bring in some supplemental income. After finding his niche audience, Ryan's YouTube channel currently has 333,000 followers at the time of this recording, and he has expanded his content to flight simulators and other products. He releases new flight vlogs every week, and you can find him on social media as Missionary Bush Pilot. In this episode, he had some great advice about the power of videos, how to use different styles of videos for different audiences, and creative ways to think outside the box. Missionaries often function and fundraise like their own mini nonprofit, and I'm excited to have Ryan share with you how he's been using videos and media to create a side business to help support his ministry. Take a listen. Well, hello, everyone. Today I have a special guest with me that I'm very excited about. It is Ryan Farran. You might know him as Missionary Bush Pilot. So, Ryan, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, as I was watching some of your videos, I noticed that you had this phrase that you would often say when you were coming in, typically for like a pretty tricky landing or something. And I'm not sure if you know what it is, but it's a phrase that I thought was really interesting that you tend to do. Do you have any guesses? And could you maybe talk about your thought process for why you might need to say it?
Is it maybe that I'm committed or something?
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we land into one-way mountain airstrips, really mountain, like nice big huge hills, and it's only a one-way in. And from my videos, you can't really tell because the GoPros really give it a really wide perspective. You can't really tell how close you are to terrain, but when I say I'm committed, it doesn't matter if a kid runs out, a pig runs out, whatever is on the runway, they're going to have to move because I do not have enough power or room to basically go around and try it again. From that point on, I'm too close to the ground. I'm landing no matter what. So I'm telling myself I'm committed just so that mentally I'm going, it is what it is. I'm going to land no matter what.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was really interesting because I typically don't think about my pilots having like those thoughts and moments of like, all right, I'm in, and there might not be any alternatives or any other ways to pull out or abort or anything like that. So I love that you kind of communicate that to your audience and are just that like raw with them of like, all right, well, I'm committed now. So,
yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, I'm excited. This podcast is particularly for nonprofits and leaders within the nonprofit and communication space. But as a missionary, I know you guys often function and fundraise kind of like your own micro nonprofit and needing to build relationships with a donor base and things like that. So how did you find yourself doing this line of work? And tell us a little bit about your flight vlog.
Yeah, so I grew up as a missionary as a kid. We spent 4 years here actually in Papua New Guinea where I'm living now. And then the rest of my growing up years, really from 6th grade on, my parents were involved in the training aspect of training missionaries to come overseas. So, I mean, even from a young age, probably 10th grade, I really felt like this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a missionary pilot, specifically a missionary pilot, not just a pilot, but really right after high school, really the year after and all the way up for the next 12 years, I was preparing myself either through different types of training with flying or through missionary training or Bible college, all in preparation to be able to come to Papua New Guinea someday. It took about 12 years to get here, but I'm glad I waited for the wait to get here for sure.
Nice. And I gotta ask about the name. What's been the response to the term missionary in your Missionary Bush Pilot handle?
Um, Honestly, not too much negative response. I actually came up with the name for like a Facebook page, like a few years, maybe probably 3 or 4 years, actually, even before I started the channel. I had the idea that, oh, that'd be kind of cool to be able to do a channel someday, but didn't really have the know-how to do videos. I've always been in photography, used to do weddings and things. So I have a background in video and I always actually wanted to get into videography. But honestly, most people just don't really seem to care. They don't really seem to ask questions. I really try to keep my content very broad for a big audience, not really missions based. I do have some of that stuff, but it's harder to find and you actually have to go onto different platforms to be able to see that content. So I'm really trying to hit the masses with my YouTube channel, really, rather than sharing my ministry in depth.
Gotcha. Nice. So when did you start your flight vlogs? And do you remember the moment when you thought you would like fully go all in and make this an active like social channel for yourself?
Yeah, it was. Well, it first started in 2018. I actually was getting into selling on Amazon as a business. And I did that for like 2.5 years. And then really COVID hit. And that's when all of my products were in the travel niche. And then nobody traveled. And so it was just getting harder and harder and more frustrating to be able to sell on Amazon. So I was looking for something else to fill my weekends. I hate sitting around and I've been wanting to do a YouTube channel. And, I was writing down in a book of like, what my yearly goals are. And one of it was like, I want to do YouTube. Didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. I like making motorcycle videos. I write a lot, but as I was looking at the platform of YouTube and studying it and studying the different types of channels, which ones do well, I actually started looking into aviation and I was thinking, how can I fit this into my schedule to where it's not affecting my family life, my work life, and I can do it as a hobby, but also think of it as I'm going in this as a business, like from the very get-go. Like I love making videos, but I'm not going to spend 40 extra hours a week just for everybody else's entertainment. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go and at least make 2 videos a week for the first year. That was like what I'm committing myself to. We'll see where it goes. I was shooting for 20,000 subscribers in the first year and looked at other channels to see what they did well and what they did poorly and how long they've been around, how big they've grown, just to see, obviously there is a group of people that like this type of video, even though this isn't even the type of video that I would prefer to make. I prefer to make more of like a storyline, more vlogging. I mean, this is, but it's all based around inside the airplane, where I would rather have like a full day picture, but it's really hard to do with my schedule. But I mean, from the very first day, I was like, no, I'm going to build this into a business and actually try to make money, just like my Amazon was doing. And I got out of that. I was like, okay, this is what's replacing the Amazon business. So where a lot of people do YouTube and they don't think that from the get-go. And then years later, after they've built a following, they're like, okay, now what can I do next to, sell a product to somebody or, actually get paid for my time?
Yeah. So you kind of basically went into this intending to kind of like make it go somewhere, make a business out of it. It wasn't just like a hobby of you had filmed some of your flights before and realized, they kind of took off and you can make it a thing afterwards. You were very intentional with it. So what made you decide to like, I guess, pursue YouTube or look into kind of how to make side businesses on the side? Yeah.
Let me think. I would say, like I said, it was like 2018, 2017 is when I just started looking out like, what can I do as a business in Papua New Guinea online? That it doesn't matter where really I am in the States or something. I've always wanted to do business. And I felt honestly, it may be a little bit like, oh man, I'm a missionary and there's nothing I can do here in Papua New Guinea to do as a business. And I didn't really even honestly care what it was. I was just like, I want to do something in the business realm. And I really like producing products, and I like selling those products to people, and I like customizing things. And that's what Amazon, that was what was intriguing initially with that, is because I could customize a product and make it my own and make a brand new product. And so that's when I started doing YouTube. I was, from day one, I was like, what's a product that I could create that I could give to other pilots, or something that they would want other than just like merch or sunglasses or something. I was looking for a product that I could create. It took about, I don't know, maybe 3 months to kind of come up with the idea. And then I was able to find companies that were able to basically create what I wanted, and I'm still selling those things today. So
Nice. That's awesome. So I think last time I checked, you had over 333,000 followers on YouTube. Do you know who your like main target audience is within that? Like what?
Yeah, I would say 75% of my viewership is 50 and over year old men. Either probably, I would say probably over 80% of them are flight simmers. So people that like to recreate, you know, a lot of my own flights on their home computers and stuff. People that have a high attention span, most of them, the younger generation that has a TikTok attention span of 30 seconds at most or less. So because of 50 and older people, they have a much longer attention span. They can watch a 25-minute video and still enjoy it at the end.
Gotcha. So are these like also people that maybe have their private pilot license or something like that because they're doing simulation, or and
Some of them,
yeah, go.
some of them do, but I would say the majority of them probably do not.
Okay.
Most of them are just people that are aviation enthusiasts that really like aviation, or always wanted to be a pilot but never became a pilot. There's a lot of people that are retired pilots that still want to kind of relive what it's like to fly. And that's what I am able to bring to my videos to these guys, is being able to bring them on like they're a passenger right next to me, and just talking to them like they were sitting next to me about my thoughts and what my plans were and how I'm planning to, you know, get around these clouds and mountains and things like that.
Gotcha. So was there a moment that you realized who your niche audience was, and then did you start catering your content towards them, or how did you go about finding or deciding that?
Yeah, after a few months, I was able to go and just onto YouTube analytics, and it shows you who's watching your videos, how many of them are male or female, and what the age group is and stuff. So once I had a baseline of who it was, I started doing polls, and I was trying to think, okay, what is something I really wanted to sell? A digital product, but I didn't honestly know what that digital product was going to be. So I just started asking people on like the polls you can post on YouTube, where people can just click yes or no, or option 1 or option 2 things, and just ask them what their interest was, and found out that a lot of them were flight simmers. So from that, I was thinking, man, I could make like a flight simulator course like online, because I had done another course on how to sell on Amazon years ago. It was a complete flop. I spent so much time investing in it. I was like, I'm never, ever making another course ever again. But then I got this idea. I was like, you know what? I could do like a instructional video on how to fly the Kodiak, the plane I fly, for people that are interested in learning how to fly, that maybe have never flown, or they've never flown that type of plane. So I don't know, I probably spent maybe only like 20 hours putting it all together. And I've been selling that now for 3 or 4 years, and it did like 100 times better than I thought it was ever going to do. So
Wow, that's awesome. I love how you saw that there was an interest and a desire there, and you just kind of like ran with that and decided to like continue making the business, giving people more of what they wanted. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell us a little bit about your process. Like, do you record every flight that you go out, or is it only some flights? How many GoPros do you have? How long does it take you to put the pieces together? Like, talk a little bit about some of your process.
Yeah, so I used to do 2 videos a week, and I did that for almost 3.5 years I did. And then my original thing was to get them out twice a week, just as in my growth, because in any type of entertainment thing, you're going to have a lot of growth at the beginning, and then you're going to taper off, and you're going to slowly get it. So I knew that I just wanted to get as much content out as there as I could. So really last fall is when I went down to 1 video a week. It was just getting too much. We're not flying quite as much as we were pre-COVID or during even COVID time. And so I think, what was one of the other questions? You said how many cameras I have. I have 8 cameras on the plane, and they're all GoPros. And the reason why I have 8 is because I watched other channels that have very similar content that I put out. And as I was building my channel, I'd watch their videos and I would write different things down. What I liked about it, I really like this camera angle. I didn't like the fact that they only have 3 cameras because my eyes are bleeding from not being able to blink because they don't ever change it. And I wanted my videos to feel like a movie, to where every 3 to 5 seconds at most, it's changing to a different camera angle. Or if I'm pointing over here, I want to have a 360 video be able to pan over and show the waterfall I'm flying next to. I really wanted to be really immersive to keep people's attention going and wanting to watch, rather than just assuming that everybody's going to want to watch my videos because I'm an interesting person or something, which I'm not. So I'm trying to make it more interesting to keep people watching. But what was one of the other questions in that past question?
Do you record every flight, or what percentage of the flights actually show up on the vlog that you do?
No, I record only flights that only flights that I'm by myself. That's what I like to do. I don't like filming with flights with the missionaries, just for their own privacy. There have been times that I have, and I've just asked them if they're okay with their face being on. Some places have said no, but I for sure have to film at least 1 a week. And then if I know that I've got 2 interesting flights going, oh yeah, the weather's no good today, I'm by myself, this would be a really interesting one, so I'll throw the cameras on. But it's actually very mentally draining to be able to share your thoughts on every flight. So it's very similar to instructing, where you're telling everything, the reason why you're doing this, and my thought process on this, and we're going to come up to this hill like this because of this. And so I really try to keep it to 1 video max a day, because it's just too mentally draining, and I don't enjoy it.
Nice. I'm sure the GoPro batteries probably also run out after a certain amount of time as well.
Yeah, I've got a ton of batteries so that I can swap them out, but most of my flights are under an hour, so I can just start them and then let them go the whole time until they die, and I'm on the ground by then. So
nice. That's awesome. So how did you learn some of the other technicalities, like editing it together, adding subtitles, working on your thumbnails? Were those things that you knew how to do, or did you kind of just figure it out as you went along?
Video editing stuff for thumbnails. I've been doing Photoshop since high school, so 20 plus years. So that was super easy to have that realm finished. And then for video editing, I made my very first video ever in 2013. And it was a 2-minute long video, and it took me 12 hours to make.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, this is brutal. But I really enjoyed watching videos more than I like looking at pictures. So I really wanted to get into it. So I always watched tons of tutorials. I didn't know how to do anything I do Adobe Premiere. I didn't know how to do anything with editing, and I would just watch tutorials like, how do you start making a video? And I was like, how do you adjust the volume? Like every single tutorial on how to learn it, until I had enough tools in my toolbox to do what I want to do. And even my first flight vlog, it was, I think, like 26 minutes long. It took me 12 hours to edit it. And I was like, man, I want to do 2 of these a week. This is going to take, I need to come up with a better solution. So I went and looked up a bunch of professional editing gurus on YouTube, and then took all of their stuff, all of their knowledge over the past 15, 20 years of editing, and started incorporating those into my workflow. And I whittled it down from 12 hours to about 3 hours to make a video now.
Wow. Nice. So what are some of the results that you've seen from making a business out of kind of the work that you've seen? Other than like assuming a large follower, but have you seen a large following? But have you seen any other results out of doing the media surrounding your work?
Yeah, we've been able to, I mean, for one, it brings a lot of eyes to the ministry that we are doing here. And I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's very low on how many people, well, for one, are interested in missions to begin with. And that's really why I make them very generic, aviation related, and not really ministry. But we have been able to bring on more supporters by sharing actually what we do. And I have a Patreon page, which is a completely different platform that I try to make more videos a little bit more on the ground and sharing a little bit more about the ministry and what we actually do here. That if people are interested, they could go, that's where they could get those. But it really hasn't been until my wife really pushed me over the past year when we went on home assignment and our support had dropped down to maybe 75 or 80%. So just because you have your content out there doesn't necessarily mean that a lot of new supporters are going to just automatically come. It wasn't until I actually made a video saying, hey guys, we're planning on going back. We need more support to be able to go back. Here is where you can find the information. I just kind of have different videos. You finish this video, click on this video if you want to find out more about my testimony. Click on this video if you want to find out really why we're there, or I'm not just flying airplanes for a job. And it wasn't until I actually brought our need out there for people that our support actually was able to get up to what it needs to be.
Nice. Was that because you were using video to kind of like fundraise for you and your family, or were you kind of like promoting the channel more in different ways? Or
yeah, I mean, I really wanted there to be a big separation between my ministry and my channel. Like, I didn't want my channel to be a second ministry. Like, this is my escape for fun. I like making videos. I like building business stuff, and I like creating products. So I really wanted to keep that completely separate from what we actually do ministry wise. So the first 3 years, I didn't share. I think I shared in one video out of like 300 of what it is that we actually do and why we do it. That's it. One video, because again, I really wanted to keep it separate, and I wanted my viewers to know that it's separate as well. Because if you're sharing aviation content, and then you throw out, oh my gosh, like, we just started a new church and here's what they've been learning in the church and stuff. That's not what they came to your channel to begin with. They came to watch airplanes, and that's it. So, but it really wasn't until my wife was like, hey, you don't want to go speak at churches. I hated raising support with a passion. Absolutely hated it. And I'm not like a really extroverty kind of outgoing guy. Like, both my wife and I are very much introverts. She's like, then you just make a video and say, here's our need. For anybody that's interested, here's how you can partner with us in our ministry. And within 3 months, we had enough to come back to the field.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a testimony to the power of, I guess, videos and media that allow people to engage and connect on a different level.
Yes. I mean, I would say, I remember it was in 2008 really before vlogging was even a thing, when I was in the training to become a missionary, a friend of mine who just lived literally like 2 houses down at the same college, he did a walk around his apartment with his phone and just showing, oh yeah, this is where I live. And it was to send back to his friends, and he posted that on Facebook. And my mind was blown. I was like, this is the answer. Like, video is where it is. Like, I don't even have 2 minutes to read a friend's, newsletter about how they're in some other country sharing the gospel. But man, if they have a 5-minute video, I've got time to watch that. So again, that's really why I started doing this. And I've actually only written one newsletter ever in 10 years that we've been here. And all the other ones are just 2 to 3 minute video updates showing people what it is that we're doing so they can see us, feel a connection with us, feel connection to the work that we are, and feel like, other than trying to come up with a picture in their head what it looks like in Papua New Guinea or out in a village, they get to see it for themselves and experience it.
Nice. I love that. And are the supporters that you do those separate videos for, that do they also subscribe to your channel and follow that, or are those audiences kind of separate ones?
I'd say they're probably pretty separate. Yeah, I know that some of them do, but I would say the majority of them don't, probably.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It makes sense. Like you said, they're coming to your channel for like a totally different type of information. So,
Yeah.
you mentioned bringing awareness to the ministry. Do you have any stories of like people you've inspired to become a pilot or do missions or any of those kind of stories?
Yeah, there are. I mean, I've had, probably 100 people or so write me, young guys saying, "Oh man, from your videos, like I want to become a pilot, or I want to go into missions, or man, I never thought I could, this even existed. So now I'm looking into mission aviation and stuff." And I know there's a lot of high school boys here at Lopilo, where I live at the mission center here in New Guinea, that have seen my videos, that want to become a missionary pilot someday. Some of them are pursuing it right out of high school. So it's encouraging to see that something that I never thought of. My intent was never to inspire people into aviation or missions or something, but that's just come from the videos naturally.
Yeah. And along with greater exposure to the work and the ministry of your organization, what's been the response of your organization? What have they thought about you or your channels?
Yeah, initially when I started, I really kept it on the down low, like, just because I've honestly seen a lot of other missionaries try to do like a side hustle and it completely backfire. And a lot of people have left the mission because it just didn't go well. So that was something I was really worried about, but it really wasn't until I got like around maybe 200,000 subscribers and started to getting millions of views that people were like, "Whoa, what are you doing, Ryan?" Like they let me know, like, but it's actually brought a lot of exposure for the mission, because to be honest, our Ethnos 360 doesn't really do marketing very well. They would like to, but they don't know how, or they're using methodology that might have worked back in the 1980s that, I mean, you're only now targeting the 60s and 70-year-olds instead of the next generation is what we're trying to target. So
Totally.
yeah.
So have they used any of your content in kind of their own marketing, for their own marketing purposes? Do you know, or have they?
They've used a little bit. I think that they would like to maybe get more into that. And maybe when I'm finished flying here, I've got probably another 5 years is really what we're planning for till my youngest graduates. I might transition to that role and maybe try to help with like media and marketing and trying to get Ethnos 360 aviation, in everybody else's eyes instead of just MAF.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. That's awesome. Cool. Well, you talked a little bit about some of the side things you do as well, like the flight simulator. Have those been lucrative, or could you talk about like just using those kind of in support of your ministry?
Yeah. So that was, I mean, just starting this channel in general was the real goal behind it was as a missionary, you have enough money to live and that's it. You don't, you can't ever seem to get ahead, is really kind of what I'm saying. So I was looking for something that could be a side income so that someday I could buy a house or not be stressed about spending $10,000 to fly my family back to the United States every 4 years, or $10,000 to fly back to Papua New Guinea and have to worry about buying a vehicle when I get back to the States. Those are things that people never think about missionaries have to do. But I figured it was like every 4 years, we basically just flushed down about $30,000 down the toilet in travel expenses, lost money on vehicle transactions, things like that. So I wanted something that I could start putting aside in savings for that very thing. And so for the first, I think, I don't know, 2.5 years, I didn't spend a dime of anything I made on YouTube just to save up money so that I could actually invest and buy a home when we go on home assignment. So that really preparing for my future, because I mean, I grew up in missions my whole entire life, and I watched my parents not plan for the future. I've watched many, many other missionaries not plan for the future and then feel stuck. And so that was something that I felt very heavy about and very serious about. So that's really what pushed me to want to start a side business so that I can start preparing for my future, because I won't be able to fly forever. So
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking as a missionary kid, I guess we're not typically known for our business sense. So, what was it that kind of made you want to like how did you get your desire to be business savvy? Was it like born out of necessity, would you say, or talk a little bit about that?
I think it was born out of the fear of um, I don't know how to put it. Maybe being kind of stuck is maybe the best way I can put it. I didn't want to finish investing 25 to 30 years of my life in ministry to walk away and be starting from ground zero. You know, I've seen missionaries that have spent 25 years on the field, and when they finish, they head back to the States and they're literally starting from ground zero. They've never bought a home. They don't have a vehicle. They have zero savings. They haven't thought about the future as they're getting older, the fact that they might not be able to continue work until 75, 80 years old. So those are things that have really, really pressed on my heart to be like, I need to be thinking. I'm now 43 years old. So I really wanted to be thinking, what's next? Not just like, I'm here and this is all I can see right now. I'm always thinking big picture so that I don't get there in 50 years. Or maybe if I get hurt or something and I'm unable to actually fly, what else am I going to do? You know? So I'm always trying to think, what's next to prepare myself.
Yeah. Nice. In setting up these kind of long-term streams, did you receive any pushback from either other missionaries or organizations or anything like that? Or was everybody pretty encouraging?
I'd say everybody was encouraging about it, really. Um, I, I, I'm a pretty private person and I didn't share with anybody what I was doing. I just am like, I just kind of keep my head down and I'm just doing my thing. But now I really didn't have anybody really think anything badly of it, because I really try to keep a good light about Papua New Guinea, a good light about what we're doing, and just try to keep the whole vibe of the channel just very neutral, and this is what I do, and I'm just sharing it with people.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite videos that you've produced, or any favorite moments from your blogs that are kind of like a highlight reel, or greatest hits?
No, to be honest, when I finish a flight, man, I have basically forgotten about that flight. I'm honestly, I do. I don't even know how many I've done. Probably 1,000 or more flights here, and I would say I have highlights as far as what we do in ministry. Over the past 6 months, we have been flying to a new location for some new missionaries starting in January and allocating them all of their materials to build their homes. And we just wrapped that up in May. So that was a big highlight to be a part of that. We flew 117 flights into the same location, flying all the materials to build their houses and watched the progression of them build it. And then we just had kind of like a welcoming thank you from the community just last week. And that was really cool. They gave me arrows, actually. Like, let me show you here. I hung up on my wall. They gave me these arrows, and this is like a bark cape that they wear, that they painted on with like ash and some other stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool. But I would say those are really the highlights that I remember, because I'm not here just to fly airplanes. My heart and the reason I'm here is to see the gospel go out to places that have never heard, and to see churches being planted. And that's really why I'm here. If it wasn't for that, I would not be flying airplanes in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. I saw a photo of you with mud on your face. Was that the same village, or was that a different experience?
Yeah, that was the same village. That was their way of kind of saying, and I got this actually, I went on my Facebook page just today, and I had posted on Instagram, and it automatically posted on Facebook. But I probably had 30 or more PNG citizens saying, wow, that's like their way of saying that they are so appreciative and that they really respect you. And that's like a very high honor. I didn't know that at the time. I'm just like, oh, this is kind of gross. And now I'm going to get all this, like white clay and mud in my airplane and stuff. And, as I'm climbing in, I'm trying to brush it off. And they're like, no, just leave it. I was like, I don't want it in my airplane. So I would say those are the highlights for sure, is seeing the work that we're actually here for get accomplished.
Yeah, I love that. It's good. Good reminder of the bigger picture too. Cool. Well, you mentioned kind of the impact that videos have had in your kind of fundraising. What advice would you give to other missionaries trying to raise support, if any?
I would say awareness is the first one. I mean, you can go to 100 churches and talk all about ministry, but if you don't tell people that there's actually a need, they're just going to assume, oh, he must already be funded. He doesn't need any money. I mean, we live off of sponsorship, basically. And we can't be here without people sponsoring what we're actually doing. So it really wasn't until I started sharing that in some of my videos, and I have a video at the end of one of my videos that says, here's what I actually do as a missionary pilot. And if people are interested, they can click on that, and that shares what I do. I'm walking around a village saying, here's all the materials that I've flown in over the past 6 months for these specific things, and these are the missionaries, and this is what they're here to do. And then after that video, if you want to find out more about, my own testimony or how you can partner with us, because we're only supported by people back in the States, either individuals or some churches, but I would say 98% of them are individuals, not churches. Because I grew up as a missionary kid, and I knew that churches are not the way to go anymore. It's individuals, because they have a personal relationship with you. They want to hear what you're doing. Churches, they get a new pastor, a new missions committee, and who's this Ryan guy? We haven't seen him in a few years. Well, that's because he's on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
But I think videos, if I would encourage anybody, I would say it doesn't have to be fancy. If you just hold your phone and zero editing whatsoever and just pause it, and if you need to stop talking, just pause your thing. Nobody cares. People want to see your face. They want to hear your voice. They want to feel connection with you, especially in the digital age. There's such a lack of connection with real people, but they can seem to feel a little bit more of a connection by hearing it from your mouth. And it doesn't have to be anything special, honestly. Like, I like making my videos as professional as I can to make it feel like a movie. But when I do my updates for my supporters, I don't do that. I literally hold my phone. I do next to zero editing. I don't put music in it. I don't make it anything. I just want it to feel like they're standing there right next to me, hearing me talk to them, because that's the feeling that you get when you have your hand out with a camera. So that's what I would encourage people is it doesn't matter what job you have. People are interested, like just the fact that you're living in another country. Like, I've done videos walking around our town that we live next to, and people love that. They're just like, oh, what's the store like? You know, like, what does it look like walking around the streets through the market? That's what people want to see. So yeah, it doesn't, and you can just upload it straight from your phone. You don't have to edit it. They don't care. They just want you. They just want to hear it from you.
Yeah, that's great. I love the pointing out that distinction between almost like the two different types of styles and audiences for those things. Do you have any advice on like an organizational level for nonprofits, maybe regarding their members' media initiatives or marketing initiatives?
I would say for any type of social media, it's all about consistency, and that's what everybody always says. But I know with YouTube specifically, YouTube will promote your stuff if you continue to put it out there. But if you stop putting it out there, let's say for 6 months, then you've destroyed the whole algorithm. And even if you start back up and are putting out great content, your YouTube goes, well, he's not putting out consistent stuff, so we're kind of scared about showing it to all his viewers. So it's going to be really hard. So if you do, I mean, I've seen organizations put out, 8-minute documentaries and things, and they're really great content, but they only put out one video every 8 months. And then they just completely flop because YouTube doesn't push it. They're like, well, we don't know if this is going to be good content, so we're not going to push it. So, and that's hard too with an organization that is trying to put out bigger things. If I were to give any advice, I'd say put less polishing touches on it and make them shorter and get it out there. I mean, if you look at TikTok, if you posted something once a week for 30 seconds and it gave people literally a phone, you'd probably get more views on that than if you spent the past 3 months putting a really, really well put together, storyline documentary on YouTube, and you get like 3,000 views on it, as opposed to your 30-second clip that got 50,000 views in the first 24 hours on TikTok. So that's what I would recommend, is more content and less polished. People are tired of polished looks, I think. They want real, especially with how much fake stuff is out there, and you don't really know what to believe anymore, what you see. They really want this raw content.
Yeah, that's good. Out of curiosity, I know you mentioned you went from two flight vlogs a week down to one because it was sucking so much of your time. Did you notice a change in like YouTube's algorithm regarding your channel? Like, did you find less followers after you dropped your frequency after that?
No, I actually dropped it because I felt like putting out 2 was not getting the results that I used to with getting out 2. So I actually tried it for a few months where I'm like, I'm only going to do 1 for the next 2 months and then see how it goes. And I was actually getting pretty close to the same amount of views overall as I was with 2, because I was just oversaturating my viewers with my videos. So like, let's say if I put out 2 a week and you don't have time to watch my second one, but maybe the next week you do, YouTube might not show you next week because you didn't watch, Thursday's episode. Now they don't even bring up Monday's episode because you didn't watch that. So it was actually hurting me more because I wasn't in the growth phase. So and then I tried putting out 2 again to see if it actually, picked back up more, and it didn't. So then I was like, well, this is stupid. I'm just going to go down to 1. And I actually enjoy doing just 1 a week more anyway.
Gotcha. Nice. Have you ever thought about doing any longer form content, like, 30-minute documentaries or anything like that? Or are you sticking with the shorter vlogs?
I mean, I would say my average video is about 25 minutes right now. So on YouTube, at least, that's what my average is, about 25 minutes. Some of them go up to 30 minutes, but I'd say if you cut it down, it was probably like 27 minutes is the very average one. Where maybe 3 years ago, they were closer to maybe 22 minutes long. So, and I think some of that's just because I've gotten more comfortable on camera and I've been able to just share more in depth about what I'm doing, and that makes it a little bit longer. But yeah, I've tried the short content, and with TikTok specifically, TikTok works whatever country you're in and started your TikTok account on. That's the people it pushes it to first, and if it does well there, then it starts pushing it well to the rest of the world. So if you're in America where TikTok is really popular, it's a lot easier to grow. Where here in New Guinea, all my content goes to PNG people, and there's a much smaller group of, out of 8 million people in the country, like that's the size of LA. There's not that many people that are interested in aviation, so it's been much harder to grow on those channels as it has YouTube, which immediately pushes it to all around the world.
Cool. Well, I think that's all my questions. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention, either about your work or your media, that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, think of anything now.
Okay, awesome. Well, where can people find you? How can they find your work, your channels?
All my channels are just under Missionary Bush Pilot, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, my website. It's all just Missionary Bush Pilot.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our channels for future content. It really helps us out. This podcast is brought to you by Travelite Studios. Travelite is a full-service film production company that specializes in documentary and promotional videos for your nonprofit. We are a multicultural team of award-winning creatives with a passion to help organizations grow their reach. We can be your media team or work alongside your media team to deliver captivating content that energizes your audience. Travelite takes the time to truly get to know you and your needs, and includes extra tools to help make your videos be the most powerful they can be. Go to travelitestudios.com right now to plan a project and have your story and solutions presented to viewers in a beautifully compelling way. That's travelitestudios.com.